about this character is that she walked into her destiny and accepted that. So today we're going to be talking about walking into your destiny and how you can walk into your destiny with the Spirit of God. Amen. We're going to talk to you about Joshua chapter 2 verses 1. This character about Joshua. We all know about Joshua and Moses. Moses wasn't able to go into the promised land, so he had to give that torch over to Joshua. Well, Joshua had to be accepted by the Israelites, by the people, the new generation that were going to cross over unto the promised land. But he had to find out a little bit about the land in which he was going to possess, in which God was going to deliver into his hands. What he found out was amazing. There was a woman who was going to walk into her destiny and accept what God had for her life. Are you ready to accept what God has for your life today? Or will you stop in fear and wonder if God has actually laid that plan before you? But he told Jeremiah that he knew you before you was even formed in the womb. He knew all about you, your destiny. He knew what he was going to do with your life. When Joshua talked to his two soldiers, his two main characters, one of the things he told them is, I want you to go into this land and I want you to scout it out. I want you to go out and look at it. I want you to find out some information for me. These two men happily, obediently obeyed Joshua. When they got into the land, they surveyed it. They took a look at a couple of things. They looked at the people when they first entered the gates. They looked at the surrounding environment in which they were in. God asks us sometime when we walk into something, we also have to plan. We have to go and survey what God has already given us so that we know what we're walking into in our lives. These two men walked around. They introduced themselves. They met a few people. They listened to what was going around in their circumstance. Well, on the way, they needed some shelter because they were going to be there a few days. They asked a couple of guys, well, we need a place to abide, a place where we can lay our head. Well, when they ran into these men said to them, well, look, I have a great place for you to abide. There is a harlot by the name of Rahab. There's always room for more there. They were being a little sarcastic. They sent these Israelites into the hands of a harlot, not knowing they sent Rahab into her destiny. Because sometimes your enemy will send you right into your destiny. So don't fear your enemies, because the Bible also says God will make your enemies your footstool. Amen? So that's one of the things that we have to remember, is that don't fear your enemies. Don't walk away from them. Don't even run from them. Face your enemies, because they can catapult you into your destiny. Well, that's what these men were doing for Rahab. They were going to help her reach into her destiny. Well, when the two men went to Rahab's house, they knocked on the scarlet door, and everyone knowing what her background was, what her career was, many people didn't socialize with her, especially other women. If you did not want to be placed in that category, then you didn't socialize with the likes of a woman like Rahab. So we have to remember in Rahab's situation that she also had a background, a past. How many of us have a past? Well, when we look at our past, a lot of us try to judge one another. We try to look at one another. We even try to walk away from other people. But one thing we have to realize is that sometimes those people will be the very ones that God will use to speak into your life, to help you reach your destiny. So we have to also reach out and witness to them. But what happened in this particular situation with Rahab is this. As she opened her door to these strange men, these Israelites, she realized something. These men were different from the men that were in her land. She also gave them some information. She told them this. You are those Israelites. Come in, she said. As everybody in the community looked to see the Israelites entering into the door of the harlot, the one that they figured no one wanted to be around, they decided to walk away from her, but yet they sent these two Israelites into her home. But what they didn't realize is that God was sending these two men to witness to Rahab. As she invited these two men into her home, she began to talk to them, and they to her. They began to witness to her and tell her about the things of God. And she says, you know, I've already heard about the things of your God. Let me tell you a few things that I've heard around town, because I'm a girl that gets around, you know. She tells them that, yes, we know of your God. We know of the God in which God has sent Moses to open up the Red Sea and to bring his people across and out of Egypt. We know how God had dried up the land so that you could get across to reach the promised land. Yes, we have heard of your God. So one of the things that they understood was these people were not alienated from God. They had already heard the story of the power and authority of God. So she said to them, listen, I know that our people are afraid of you. They are faint-hearted in you. We are afraid of you. We already know that if God has already told you that he was going to give you the land, then we have already lost the battle. So the Israelites realized something. That the people knew of God. They already knew the land would be delivered into their hands through Rahab. So for the night they hid there. They slept. She fed them as customary to do. But the king knew that some Israelites were around, and he wanted to find out where they were. They were there seeking out to destroy, to take the Israelites. So these men who had sent the two soldiers over to Rahab, kindly, of course, for a couple of coins, said to them, well, we already sent them to Rahab's house. That is where they lay. That is where they are. So the king and his soldiers, figuring they're going to march in there and they're going to take the Israelites and thus maybe give themselves a little security, a little kidnap, a little ransom for their land. Because they knew already of the God of Abraham. They knew already of the God of Moses. So I ask yourself now, do you know about the God of Abraham in your life, in your situation? Do you not realize that God has already ordained, has already delivered your enemies into your hands? So in this situation, here they come knocking on Rahab's door, and Rahab answers kindly, and they're asking her, where are those Israelites? We know they're here. We know that you have hid them. And she says, why, I have not hid them, for you know I hide no man here. What I did was I sent them on their way. But what she really did was walk into her destiny that night. She made a deal with the Israelites, and she said, listen, I know about your God, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you that I know that God is going to deliver us and our people into your hands. So I ask you right now, if you will not spare my life as I'm going to spare your life. And the men said to her, well, yes, we will do that. She says, well, I'm going to put my rope down there. I'm going to let you climb on my roof and hide. And then once they leave, I'm going to let you climb down my scarlet rope. And then you are to go to the mountain, lay low, hide for 3 days. How many of you know that 3 is the number of God? Amen? 3 is the number of God. Rahab became the redeemed of God that day. She sent those men over the roof and told them, I want to help you, but I do not want to be a part of my past anymore. I want to be a part of your God. So the men says, well, I tell you what, if you do as you say, then we will protect you. But you must lay down your scarlet rope so that we know where you are. So again, we see the Passover happening again. Just like in Moses, where God